Chapter 371. After Li Hongyuan finished dealing with He Zhihai, he went back to accompany his wife to sleep. As for whether He Zhihai would cry for his father and mother in pain, that was none of his business. Perhaps it was because of the familiar person, the familiar smell. When Li Hongyuan approached, Jingwan unconsciously rubbed into his arms. Her head rested on his arm, and her arm rested on his chest. She also sleep-talked, calling out a yuan. Li Hongyuan chuckled and moved his body to let Jingwan sleep more comfortably. He touched her face and kissed her. At least at this moment, Li Hongyuan's heart was abnormally satisfied. The person at the top of his heart who had become obsessed with obsession was his legitimate wife. At this moment, she was peacefully lying in his arms, which was enough to soothe all his negative emotions. And in order to maintain everything now, and even let Jingwan be more unrestrained, he must hold the power in his hands, and no one can say anything. Jingwan woke up, and before she opened her eyes, she rubbed Li Hongyuan's shoulder and whispered twice, "Ayuan, and Ayuan, and Ayuan." Li Hongyuan turned his head to look at her and smiled silently. "And I'm here. Ayuan, Ayuan, Ayuan." Jingwan called out again and again without saying anything else. Li Hongyuan also responded patiently. She didn't know how many times she called out, but Jingwan's heart seemed to finally be satisfied. Then she remembered the things she should have asked the day before, such as the matter of Prince Zhong Fu catching fire. Later, I'll have people organize all the big and small things in the capital in the past 6 months. When the time comes, you can take your time to look at it. When Li Hongyuan said this, in a place where Jingwan couldn't see, his eyes flickered. Speaking of which, although he deliberately let people go easy on him, someone really could do it, which was indeed amazing. Jingwan responded, "How do you plan to deal with the He family's matter?" Li Hongyuan didn't hide anything and briefly told her what happened before. Although Jingwan didn't know how powerful Gong Jiu's medicine would be, she was quite optimistic about him. Well, there was a condition called hypersensitivity to pain, which would increase the pain by countless times. A small cut or hit could make people feel excruciating pain. Maybe Gong Jiu had such a medicine. If so, she would light 32 candles for He Jiu's little gangster. I heard that in the past years, General He came back with a few bodyguards and didn't have any family members. This year, is there a bad rumor? Or is there something wrong with the He family? Or is someone plotting something again? Wan, you're overthinking. It's not like that. Although the He family has worked hard and made great contributions, the Northeast, he indeed would not go out to cause trouble and there are no because his next goal was naturally very clear. The He family's influence is limited. He Jinwei's far from the eyelids twitched. The more he looked, the He family felt that it was impossible for this kid basically has no contact with the capital. There must be something he no matter how fierce prepared to ask the people who had followed it has nothing to do with them. At this moment, the He family bodyguards had got to change their clothes. So the sky is high. The wounds on their bodies also needed to be examined. Therefore, originally, the He family, the soldiers wanted to downplay another kind of where they exchanged blows. The reason why so many people from the He family now that they were faced with General He's cold is because there's something strange going on like quails and there might be a major war. He Jinwei only felt his temples. It's not appropriate for the entire He was very clear what kind of moral character his son has. When they were something unexpected happened, he had not been lenient should be avoided as much as possible. Now, so he had the guts to set his eyes on. You're the one who facilitated this? And it was the kind that could Li Hongyuan's voice was muffled as he responded. When he had offended Jin Wang Fei, I know that a yuan, the other party had just tidied him up and did not. So he must have received some accurate information. He should be extremely thankful. The imperial court matter was not over yet. Even if they knew, still thinking about how to deal with the aftermath. After all, he should directly break relatively stable creature's legs so that he could not. Why would there be a major? That would also save him a lot of. If there really is a war, He Jinwei could almost imagine they might even push the blame on Wang went. There's rarely a time when there's an adequate scene was simply unbearable to look at. The He family's northeast army, he had done this kind of thing many times. If there's a major war, even an iron army, it was only until those people were all knocked without the support of gradually stopped. Since a yuan can't bear to do that, those soldiers were still he must have prepared more than just not a few members of the He family. After all, she knew what he was flipped over by a young teenager. One knows me well was a very shameful matter. Li Hanyuan
They even
chuckled.
said that the younger
I'm telling the
generation
truth.
would surpass
Moreover,
the older
in
generation.
her previous life,
Even if those people
the
were
imperial court
indignant,
really
they
did
would not
push
do
all the
anything
blame
to
on
that
the family.
evil creature
They
on
said that they
account of his
didn't
face.
supervise
Jin
the
Qin Wang
situation
was
properly.
different.
If
he
he
really wanted to
wasn't
block
the
the door,
only one
he
left
had
in the
many
He
guards
family.
around him.
They might
One
have
word
even
from
accused
him
them of
could
treason.
make that evil
Although the He
creature
family
suffer.
suffered heavy
After all,
casualties,
Two Fists
and
was
was no
almost
match
wiped
for
out.
forehands.
The enemy
If Jin
didn't
Qin
fare any
Wang was
better.
really angry
Otherwise,
and let
Qi
people
Yuan wouldn't have been able to
cripple
clean
him,
up the mess
he,
so easily.
as the father,
Perhaps a
could only
large
pinch
piece
his
of land in
nose
the
and
northeast of
swallow
Qi
his
Yuan
bitterness.
would have fallen
There was no
into the
place to
enemy's
judge,
hands.
and he did
After
not
getting
have
up,
the face to
she was
do
in
so.
high spirits.
He Jinwei
As
wiped
for
his
little
face.
brat he, well,
There were several
he wasn't a
times when
bad
he had
person
the
in
impulse
nature.
to beat that
It's about time
evil
to send him
creature
back.
when that evil
Since
creature
Jing Yuan
exchanged
said
blows,
so,
and
he
Li
was not
Hanyuan
lenient.
didn't have
Usually,
any other
if he really
instructions,
broke his legs,
the matter
he would
was
not dare to
naturally
fight
settled.
back.
But in
However,
the end, he did
the
not
family
have the heart
didn't manage
to
to
be
enter
associated
Jin
with
Qin
such an
Wang Fu.
evil creature.
Even He Jianwei
Great
didn't
general,
manage
he
to
felt
see
that
Li
his
Hanyuan.
lifespan could
The
be
whole
shortened
family
by
was
10
exceptionally
or 20
anxious.
years. Afraid
Forget
that
it.
Jihai
First
would
apologizing
really
to
die
Jin
in
Qin
Wang
was
Fu.
the proper thing
Although
to do.
reason told them
It was
that
just
no matter how
military
lawless
general
Jin Qin Wang
in the
was,
entire capital,
he wouldn't go.
he did
to
not
this
have any
extent.
close in-laws.
However, it was
At
possible
most,
to turn
he only had
Jihai
distant relatives
into a useless
In the
person.
past few years,
Jihai
he
was
would come
only
back
16
with his
years
personal
old
guards.
and was already
He would
the
not
number
hold a
one
banquet,
general in the
nor would he
Northeast
pay a
Army.
visit.
Now that
This
he had
time,
become
because
a
his family had
useless person,
returned,
there was
a
too
possibility that he would
since
stay
they couldn't
in the
see
capital
him in the
The He
future.
family could only
A
go
banquet
back
was a
first.
must. Although the
Before
He
that,
family
it
didn't
would
want to
not
make the
be
matter
good
known
for
to
him
everyone.
to pay a visit
But in
to
the
anyone.
entire capital,
Even if it was to
the people who
apologize,
should know already
it would
knew.
not be good.
Because it
This
was
was
a
in
special
consideration
period,
of
no
both
one stood out
sides.
to blame.
After thinking
Li
about it,
Hanyuan,
great
the He
general,
family's
he decided to
previous
start with
righteous
Lu Qingdi.
indignation.
He
They
explained
said
that
that little
little
Gongzi
Gongzi
clearly
he was in the wrong
and let
first
Lu Qingdi
and should be
help to
punished
build the
according to
bridge.
law.
This
Jin
could also
Qin
show
Wang
his
shouldn't
loyalty.
abuse his power
Before entering
and
the
so on.
palace.
Not to
Great
mention
general,
that Jin
still
Qin
went to
Wang
see
couldn't be
Jihai.
provoked.
This
This
was an
father and
occasional
son
case.
talked about something
If any
behind
action was
closed
out of
doors.
line,
Whether it was
Lu
effective
Qingdi,
or not,
who was
he
still
did
in a
not
fit
know
of
for the
anger,
time being.
might
He
label them
Jinwei
as
was very
forming a
skilled in
clique.
war.
Let's wait
His
for one
EQ
more night.
was also very
If I still
high.
don't see him
After
tomorrow,
briefly
I will
explaining the
directly
matter,
enter the palace.
he began to
see
pour
His
out his
Majesty.
grievances.
He
That evil
Jianwei's
creature
resolute
was such a
face
disgrace,
was surrounded by
How
deep
could he not
worry
be
at this
worry-free?
This evil
How
creature,
could he give people a
when
headache?
he comes back this time?
But in the
I will
end,
break his
this
legs
evil
and make sure he
creature
can't
is
get out
this
of bed
official
before he
son.
returns to the board.
I can't
town.
really ignore
Seeing
him.
His Majesty,
Lu
if
Qingdi
possible,
was not
the
only
He family didn't
greatly
want to take
moved.
this step.
He could empathize
To what
with
extent?
him.
Lu
He also
Qingdi
began to pour
pampered
out his
Jin
grievances.
Qin Wang.
He also
They
had an
especially
evil
understood.
creature's son.
They were a
beloved
family of
official
generals,
but it didn't mean
you
that
have
they
been
were
far
all
away in a
boorish
border
people
city
who didn't
all
understand
year
the ways
round.
of the world.
You don't know,
That
the living
night,
Hell
the
King's
He
fighting
family didn't
strength
sleep
was
well.
much more
After
valiant
breakfast
than
the
Little
next
Gangster
day,
He
when
Jianwei
great
decided
general
to
he
enter
heard
the
this,
palace.
he sighed
But before entering the
endlessly.
palace,
So
he still
what?
made a trip
His son
to
could
Jin
still
Qin
live
Wang
well.
Fu
It
to
was
see
really
if
a
there could be a
miracle.
turn for the better.
With such a comparison,
The result of this
he
trip
actually
was
felt
somewhat
that his son was
unexpected.
actually
From
quite
afar,
obedient.
he saw the
Just
gate
think,
of Jin
if
Qin
his son
Wang
was
Fu
really
open
like
and a
Jin
group of
Qin
people
Wang.
came out.
He reckoned
Who else
that
could
he
it
would
be
have long
if it
been
wasn't
angered
He
to death.
Jihai and his
After
8
all,
guards?
no matter how
He
he
Jianwei
was,
hurriedly
he
sped
could not
up.
be like Lu
When he got
Qingdi,
closer,
who could
the gate of
suppress
Jin
everything.
Qin Wang Fu
Zhen's
closed again.
evil creature.
The other 8 people
These
were
2
still
years,
okay.
He
Their
has
clothes
restrained
were a
himself
bit
a
tattered,
lot.
and there were
Although he still
bloodstains on them.
occasionally angers
But their
Zhen,
spirits looked
contradict
good.
Zhen.
Only
But
He
those
Jihai
messy
was supported
things
by
have
people
decreased.
and looked half
Beloved
dead and
official,
dying.
you don't
He
need to take
Jinwei's
it
heart
hard.
thumped.
After
He
all,
had never seen
it was
his
my
son
son
like
who
this.
bumped into the carriage
Even when his
and
legs were
frightened
broken
Jin Qin
and
Wang
his
Fei.
ribs were broken,
I should
he
apologize
was still
to
able to
Wang
toss
Fei Yang
and
Yang.
turn with full
Lu
energy.
Qingdi's finger
He
tapped on the
Jianwei's
table.
body trembled.
Zhen is
and his
very
lips
clear
trembled,
about
but
old
he didn't say
Sith's
anything.
temperament.
If
Let's
something
talk
makes
when we
him
get back to the
unhappy,
food quickly.
he won't let
Being on
today's
the battlefield
matter pass
all
until
year
tomorrow.
round.
As
This
long as military doctor definitely this matter is basically over. This time, the most powerful since he released your family's in the Northeast Army, it means that old Six's wife is fine. A large group beloved official really feels apologetic, anxiously waiting just let your mother make a trip to Jin Wang. The 8 military men looked at each other, hearing Luke Chundi's words that they actually wanted to say little Gongzi was actually fine, but when He Junwei returned home, now they couldn't get a word in edgewise. Old Madam, after the military doctors were also released. His expression was a military officers, but the He family became they couldn't take out much gold, silver, and jewels. But the military doctor slightly didn't mean that there were no good. Does little Gongzi's body have any special feeling right now? It was more abundant than other places. No matter what, was weak. They were the local tyrant that hurts little Yi to death. Even if they didn't take the people's wealth, for the whole afternoon, they had accumulated a lot of. He had never been in so much handing over the visiting card. The He family members also got at each other in dismay. The next day, this evil creature was the kind of person whose bones were dislocated and immediately climbed up a tree. He firmly expressed that he also wanted to go to who climbed up the house to tear the tiles. He Junwei's veins popped out on his forehead. Other than that, Everyone
The military
said that
doctor
no one knows a
continued to
son
ask.
better than his father.
He Jihai rolled his eyes,
Correspondingly,
no one knows a
understanding the
father
military
better than
doctor's
his son.
meaning.
How could
Little
He
Yi
Jihai
is
not
very
know
good.
what his father meant?
I'm not crippled or disabled.
It's me who bumped into
old man.
Jean
Can't you
Wang
diagnose?
phase carriage.
The
I should
military
apologize.
doctor touched his grizzled
Moreover,
beard. My
the
injury
expression
is
on
not
his face
completely
relaxing.
healed.
It
How can I
seems that
fight
little
with
Gongji
Jean
is
Wang?
indeed fine.
I know that there won't
He turned
be a good
around
result.
and faced
if I
the
go up
family
and
members.
get beaten up,
Little
wouldn't
Gongji's
it delay
body
the time
does
to
have
a
some
good fight?
injuries. I'm not
But
that
he has already
stupid.
taken medicine.
He Wei
and the
was irritated
effect
by that.
is
Have a good
obvious.
fight.
This
His
old
hand
man
was
will
itchy,
prescribe
and he
some
wanted to
more
slap
medicine.
someone.
And it
All
won't
right,
take
go.
long for him.
I don't
to
allow you to
recover.
go.
Maybe
He will
family
secretly
members
climb
heaved a
over the
huge
wall.
sigh of relief.
Jean
What
Wang
exactly
food.
happened?
Old
Wei
madam,
asked.
he said helplessly.
Only then did the guard open his
HTTPS
mouth
and
explain
explain
the whole matter.
the he family members' expressions were very
11/1180
So, little brother is in
slash
so much
666
pain that he's hovering between
54084.
life and death. He has been howling for too long.
Chapter
and
3,
now he has no
73.
strength at all.
Old madam,
Fourth
he
brother,
keeps
shut
Jihai by
up.
her side
He Jihai
to
flew
prevent him
into
from
a
making
rage
trouble
out of
when she
humiliation.
doesn't pay attention to him.
HTTPS.
Today he Jihai was well-behaved.
He did whatever his grandmother asked him to do.
11/1180
Perhaps because there was another man,
665
accompanied her.
4082.
When they met,
Old
HTML
madam,
chapter
he didn't
error.
hesitate
Click
to
here to
apologize.
report. She didn't beat around the bush.
Chapter
She didn't beat around the bush.
372.
She was
Wei
straightforward.
stepped forward.
She was
and
different
sat
from other
beside.
women.
Li
Jihai's
Hanyuan
bed.
played the role
Without
of guest
holding back,
perfectly.
he patted
Although
Jihai
was in a high
chest.
position.
Jihai
She
shuddered
respected
and
those
howled
elders who
miserably.
didn't flaunt
The
their
sudden
seniority.
sound startled
because she
everyone in
understood
the room.
old madam
Then
he.
they looked
She
at
had a good impression of
Jihai
her.
with a bit of
She was
disbelief
wise and
some
sensible
worry.
and righteous.
Jihai's
In
face
short,
turned green.
she deserved to be
Did they think he
admired.
was willing?
Old madam,
His mother,
he could see
he
who
was
was
really
leader.
too painful.
She was a bit surprised.
He couldn't bear
but
it
she
at
didn't
all.
ask anything.
It should be that the effect
Old
of the
madam,
medicine
he glanced at
hasn't
him
completely
and asked her son to
disappeared.
apologize.
Once the effect is
It's
gone,
just-
it won't be
it's
like
okay
this.
if she didn't look at him.
The military
She looked at
doctor
him
said
and
with a
couldn't
smile,
help but twitch
knowing
her
what was
eyes.
going on.
Her eyes
The
were
family
full of
looked at
excitement.
Jihai.
If she didn't
as if they were
know,
looking at a rare
she would think that she
treasure.
saw a beautiful
If he really
woman
howled
and
like
fell
this
in
for the
love with her at
entire
first
afternoon
sight,
and night,
then
she
she
looked
looked
at him
have
again.
this spirit.
He was indeed
It should be considered
beautiful,
not bad.
a top-notch
Moreover,
beauty.
but
His
he was a
throat
real
hasn't
man,
gone hoarse.
a real handsome man.
Jihai looked
Li
at this
Hanyuan
group
was
of
so
family members
handsome,
who rejoiced,
but he didn't look
in his
feminine at all.
misfortune.
When
He was too
young,
lazy to even
it was hard
roll
to
his
distinguish
eyes
whether he
and
was a
didn't
man
have the
or a
mind to
woman.
explain.
But since
At
Li
this
Hanyuan
moment,
was 10
it was
years old,
indeed
he had
very
a subtle
painful
and
but it was
cruel
basically
influence.
within the range.
Those
of
who used to make
tolerance.
fun of him
In
didn't
any
have a
case,
good ending. From small
Jingwan
to
also
large.
saw Jihai's
Each and
expression,
every one of them were
but she
waiting
didn't show
for him to
any
suffer,
special expression,
wanting to see
he was
him
just a
make
crazy
fool
fan.
of himself.
It's not like she didn't.
They
see
all
it
wanted him to
before.
be taught a lesson
because
and
the
behave
person who was
himself.
being fangirled
He Wei
was her
also
husband.
touched the
Jingwan
short beard on
still
his chin.
felt a little straight.
If there's a chance, ask
Jingwan
Jean
slightly
Qinhuang what
tilted her
medicine
head
was used.
and glanced
The
at Li
effect
Hanyuan.
is so good.
A certain
Even
someone
if I'm
was
thick-skinned,
unperturbed.
I'll ask for
as
it.
if he didn't notice.
The effect was good.
Old madam clearly
He felt
there were
itchy.
two meanings.
If it wasn't because
not
of the
only was the
occasion,
effect of the medicine
she would
good,
beat him up.
it was also
Xiao
better
Hai,
to deal with
hurry up
Jihai
and apologize
and
to the
indeed,
princess consort.
I've never seen
Xiao
Jihai came
Hai
back
so
to his
well-behaved.
senses. He was a little
Jihai's
bully
grandmother,
and a scoundrel.
Old madam,
but he
he
also inherited
nodded
the
in agreement.
natural qualities of a
Jihai
man from a
had
general's
never been a
family.
person who
His
could
apology
hide
to
his
Jingwan
emotions.
was quite
Therefore,
straightforward.
everything was
and
written on his
sincere.
face.
Jingwan
At this
accepted
moment,
it.
his face
but
was
she
like a
didn't
color
say
palette,
anything more.
exceptionally
The
splendid.
family style was there.
After relaxing a
she
little,
believed that they had
it was
taught
time for the
Jihai
proper
a lot.
business.
And he was
What did
still
father
like a
say
little
to
tired.
you before
She
entering
couldn't
the
just
capital?
casually
Did
say
you
a few
treat
words
father's
to him.
words as
However,
wind?
as long as he
He
wasn't
Wei's
really
face
stubborn,
was
she
exceptionally
believed
stern.
that after this
Jihai
battle,
didn't say a word.
he would at least be
The capital
restrained in
isn't like the
capital.
border cities.
Old madam, I
He
know that you're
doesn't
messing
stay for
around,
long.
but you
After
know what
all,
you're doing.
it's a special
You won't go
time.
overboard.
Even with
However,
However,
in
Cheng's
capital,
imperial
a small
decree,
matter can
she
cost
still
someone's
needs to be
life
cautious
and implicate
Jingwan
the
asked
entire
Mama
family.
Gong to send him
Why
out.
can't you behave?
Little gangster,
Do you have to
he,
throw the
on
entire
the other
family
hand,
in for you to
kept
be
looking
happy?
back as
Dad,
if he
I
was
was
reluctant
wrong.
to
I won't
part
cause
with him.
trouble in the future.
Jingwan looked at Li
lowered his
Hanyuan
eyelids
with a teasing
and said
expression.
in a low voice,
Wang Ye's charm
"You have to keep your
is
word.
limitless.
He's spiritual.
Even men
C
will
did
bend
not
down
say
for
that he
you,
was grounded
unable to
because he
extricate
knew that if this
themselves.
kid really wanted
Whether
to
other
go
people
out,
bend or not,
he would have a way to get
it has
out.
nothing to do do.
There was
with
simply
Ben
no
Wang.
way to lock him
Ben
up.
Wang only
It was
needs
better to let him
bend
walk
down
through the
for
door
Wang
and let
Is
someone
this
follow him.
family's
That
little
would be of some
Gomzi
use.
counted
Hijihai's
as one of
eyes were
Wang's
filled with
flowers and
excitement.
plants?
Do you want Xie to cut him off?
Jingwan won't let go. Her smile didn't change. Jin Wang used to be both men and women, so he didn't mind Jingwan's teasing. That's not necessary. As a husband, occasionally I should help my wife solve her worries. Wan, don't worry. No one can dream of your husband. The husband and wife teased each other for a while. After the joke was over, Jingwan asked Li Hanyuan about Hijihai's matter. He's just obsessed with martial arts. He's excited to see you, Li Hanyuan replied lazily. Jingwan nodded. She understood immediately. Let's not talk about this matter for now. It's been 2 or 3 days. How is Wan reflecting on her mistake? Oh, this. Almost done. I'm preparing to clean it up. Li Honyuan nodded. This husband will wait and see. Speaking of which, to clean up a certain someone's peach blossom, some preparations were still needed. Jingwan ordered for our Jin Xin Wang, Fu's steward, to see her. Jin Xin Wang, Fei, smilingly expressed that she needed to know all the details of the beauties in her husband's other courtyard. How big and small they were, how they came, what their identities were, etc. Mu Gonggong inexplicably trembled. That although Master absolutely didn't do anything wrong to Wang Fei, but the existence of so many beauties was a fact. Wang Fei's smile didn't decrease, but it made people feel that her mood was quite subtle. It didn't seem like she was angry, but it definitely couldn't be said that she was happy. Was it really that after being with Wang Ye for a long time, Wang Fei also became terrifying? It was terrifying to the point that it was a bit different. When a person's joy and anger were completely expressed on their face, it was actually easier to bear. But a gentle fear was what people couldn't bear, right? Fortunately, after Mu Gonggong returned from the Luo family and met with an accident on the road, he had already made preparations. Now, whatever Wang Fei wanted, he could immediately take it out and organize it into a book. He was simply too considerate. Well done, Jingwan praised. Wang Fei, you flatter me. It's this servant's duty. Jingwan smiled and nodded. Mu'en has always been loyal and devoted to Wang Ye. Since Mu'en is so clear about these things, it must have been through your hands. You've worked hard. Mu'en was still complacent before, but now he had a bitter expression, that it might not be right to do things too perfectly. Now he was simply lifting a stone to smash his own feet. In Wang Fei's eyes, he must have become the ultimate lackey, the culprit who searched for beauties for Wang Ye. Such a person, in the eyes of the female master, should be chopped into pieces. Mu'en, this Wang Fei remembers your loyalty. Continue to work hard. Jingwan's smile didn't change. Mu'en wailed in his heart. Wang Fei, please forget. https:///11/11807/665486. Chapter 374. In the following 2 to 3 days, the latest rumor in the capital was that Jin Xin Wang Fei was extremely jealous. The beauties in Jin Xin Wang's courtyard were either sent away, sold, or beaten to death by her. Not a single one was left. Even the courtyard where the beauties were kept was completely demolished. The things inside were all dismantled and sold. Not a single one was left. All of this was enough to show how much Jin Xin Wang Fei hated the existence of those who had no one. Previously, there was a rumor that Jin Xin Wang Fei was jealous and could not tolerate people. Moreover, she was vicious and merciless. At that time, there might have been some doubts, but this time it was really big. It was said that the beauties who were sent away were not dressed properly. It was said that the beauties who were sold were all tattooed with the word sin. It was said that the most miserable were the beauties who were beaten to death, crying and begging for mercy. They were so petty and pitiful that they could not beg Jin Xin Wang Fei to take pity on them. Not only were they beaten until their flesh was lacerated, they finally breathed their last. The beatings did not stop, and they were turned into a pile of meat paste. The blood seeped into the ground and could not be washed away. It was not so bad, but Jin Xin Wang Fei actually sat on one side, eating while observing the punishment. That scene made one's hair stand up in anger. Even if it was the notorious Jin Xin Wang, compared to Jin Xin Wang Fei, it seemed that he had to retreat. Although Jin Xin Wang's name, as the living king of hell, was an indiscriminate and comprehensive suppression, Jin Xin Wang Fei only targeted the flowers and plants around Jin Xin Wang Fei. They could not be mentioned in the same breath. Jin Xin Wang Fei was not to the extent of making everyone fear her. However, it seemed that the world's attacks on her were even more aggressive. There were even people who requested the emperor to divorce such an evil woman, such a person without virtue, not to mention being a daughter-in-law of the emperor. Even ordinary families would divorce her and lock her up in the family temple. Those were all light punishments. The matter was far from over. As Jingwan's grandfather, Luo Rongyin, the Minister of Personnel, was also implicated. Logically speaking, Luo Rongyin should be the one to be directly attacked. However, Luo Rongyin was far from being qualified to sit in the imperial court. No matter how he was impeached, it wouldn't have much of an impact in the end. Thus, no one bothered to do that useless work. Ever since Luo Peishan became the minister of the Ministry of Personnel, he had been stubborn. No matter who tried to rope him in, he had offended everyone. At this time, naturally, no one would mention the Minister of Personnel's impartiality. However, even though he was impeached, Luo Shangshu appeared to be quite calm. According to him, his obedient granddaughter was filial to her elders before she got married. She loved her brothers and sisters and was gentle and chaste. She was a good girl. As the saying goes, there are two sides of the same coin. If his granddaughter really did something wrong, it would be nothing more than that. His meaning could not be more obvious. If his young lady was not well, then it meant that she had changed places. It was a problem of water and soil. Everything was fine before she got married. If there was a problem after she got married, then it must be Jin Xinwang Fu's problem. Furthermore, it was the imperial family's problem. It was them who led his young lady astray. How many people's faces turned green, including Lu Qingdi's face? It was a little... Well, actually, Lu Qingdi also knew what was going on. Because this matter had not happened yet, he already knew. It was because his family's evil spawn threw a tantrum in front of him in advance. This implied that there was something wrong with those women. Those brothers of his could not bear to see him doing well. They even brought up the matter in Jiangnan. For example, the 3 times he was plotted against, they were all related to them. He clearly did not fight for anything and did not want anything, but there were still people who were unwilling to let him go. Thus, it was better to let his mother take him with her when she died. In front of Lu Qingdi, Li Hongyuan took everything on himself in advance. The only one who could still pose a threat to Jingwan was Lu Qingdi. Lu Qingdi's weakness was grasped by Li Hongyuan. Once it involved his true love, his IQ dropped. In addition, there was some specious evidence in Li Hongyuan's hands, so he did not think about anything else. Everything was for his son. Therefore, after Jingwan did those things, Lu Qingdi's imagination filled in that his son was borrowing his daughter-in-law's hand to get rid of those unstable factors. The beauties in the other courtyard and so on were just a cover. The real people to get rid of were actually in the Wangfu. His daughter-in-law took the blame for his son. He had no choice but to be kind and really divorce her. Speaking of which, the imperial family did not seem to only divorce a woman. There was only the word sudden death. Moreover, with his son's quota of cursing his wife, if this daughter-in-law was gone, he might be a widower for life. Not only that, thinking about the abundant national treasury and the bulging private purse, there was also old Sixth's daughter-in-law's infamy. With all these, Lu Qingdi felt a little embarrassed when facing Luo Shangshu. Then, Lu Qingdi dismissed the memorial and said that he knew his daughter-in-law. She was not a malicious person. It must be those lowly people who angered her. What's more, what she said about being beaten to death was purely false. As the daughter-in-law of the imperial family, she represented the imperial family's face. Such wanton slander was slandering the imperial family. Whoever released the message, if he found out, he would definitely punish them severely. Then, the reward flowed like water into Jin Xinwang Fu and was given to Jin Xinwang Fei. Jingwan looked at the things that filled the courtyard and was speechless. What was that? Many of these things were embezzled by her from Jiangnan. As a monarch of a country, was he really so embarrassed? Moreover, she brought back tens of millions for him. These things were not even worth 100,000. So stingy. Waving her hand, she put them into the treasury. https://11/11/11807/6654088. Chapter 375. However, who on earth spread the news about what I did? She didn't know anything about it. Jingwan was only wearing a casual undergarment. Leaning against Li Hongyuan, she yawned lazily and twirled a strand of Li Hongyuan's hair with her fingers. Li Hongyuan was only wearing a single garment. He held her hand and kissed her fingertips. Does Wan mind? It doesn't matter. But obviously, someone is up to no good. Because of Li Hongyuan's sincerity and love, reputation really did matter. Don't worry. I'll take care of everything. Li Hongyuan lifted Jingwan's chin and lowered his head to kiss it. Li Hongyuan knew very well that as long as there was no other woman besides Wan by his side, no matter what he said, Wan would bear the name of a jealous woman. Although it was not impossible to get rid of it, it would take a long time at least to prove it. Only by letting people know his feelings for her and letting him be labeled as affectionate, and let people believe that it wasn't that Wan didn't want to be with him, but that it wasn't that he didn't want her. Only in this way could he wash away the stigma of Wan. It would take a few years, a decade, or even decades, because no one thought that a powerful and influential man would be faithful to a woman. In this way, Li Hongyuan naturally wouldn't be polite. He had to find some benefits from Jingwan. However, his sweetheart could be a jealous woman or a fierce woman, because she would definitely be removed in the future. But she couldn't be labeled as a vicious woman. If her hands were stained with blood and human lives, as long as it was determined now, it couldn't be washed away in the future. Li Hongyuan had a basic idea of the people behind the scenes. These people fell down again and again because they didn't know his role in it, so they had the courage to make trouble for him again and again. Jingwan turned sideways, hooked her arms around his neck, and exchanged a hot and lingering kiss with him. Of course, I believe in you. Her forehead gently rubbed against Li Hongyuan's chin, incomparably intimate, and the scorching breath lingered. The husband and wife were calm, their servants were also calm, and those who knew the truth were also calm. However, there were more people who were not calm, especially after Lu Qingdi did not punish Jin Qin Wang Fei and even gave her a large reward. They became even more unsettled, and some even became restless. The things that Jin Qin Wang Fei could do, could they also do it? So, this was probably because she didn't know the inside story and didn't have Jingwan's life, so she wanted to have the same illness as her. Well, out of 100 people, at least 99 of them had this kind of illness. The rest were either stupid or had been severely brainwashed by the 3 obedience and 4 virtues. They were all sick, but only Jin Qin Wang Fei could valiantly show it. The others couldn't, so one could imagine the feeling in their hearts. Because of Jingwan, the Luo family was greatly affected, including the 2 cousins. Of course, Luo Peishan was still sitting in the position of Minister of Personnel. Even if the 2 in-laws had thoughts, they wouldn't show it. Furthermore, the 2 didn't do anything to their husbands' concubines and Tongfang. Jin Qin Wang Fei's time in the capital was also very short. When she first arrived in the capital, Luo Jingshu was already married and had a child. Luo Jingxiang also married not long after, so it didn't affect them. Don't forget, a few days ago, Jingwan also sent a large number of things to the 2 families. Nominally, it was the children's 3 baptisms and full moon gifts. However, other than what was designated for the 2 children, there were many other things. Some of these things, people like them simply couldn't afford to use. As daughters-in-law, Luo Jingshu and Luo Jingxiang weren't stingy with their in-laws' families. No matter what, there was no reason to make things difficult for them. After thinking about it, the one who was affected the most was still Jingwan's concubine-born sister, Luo Jingyu. She was only 1 year younger than Jingwan. Even though she was a concubine-born daughter, she had a grandfather who was the Minister of Personnel and a legitimate sister who was a Qin Wang Fei. Naturally, she could be considered a fragrant piece of cake. Many people wanted to marry her, and many people wanted to marry their legitimate sons. Even though it wasn't the eldest legitimate son, it was enough to show their sincerity. When Jingwan's matter came out, many people retreated. Thus, as Luo Jingyu's birth mother, Ji Yinyang, was anxious. Originally, there were many outstanding men with good family backgrounds for her daughter to choose from. But now, Luo Jingyu herself was very calm. Originally, she was a little dull and timid, but Sun Yijia, her eldest sister-in-law, helped her to adjust. She had always followed Jingwan's lead, so she was very open-minded about this matter. Concubine, you don't have to worry. Anyway, I'm still young, so I can wait for another 2 years. Besides, I don't think that third sister's matter is a bad influence. 10 out of 10 people who want to marry me want to get benefits from the Luo family. So they should have the awareness of marrying a jealous woman back home. After all, I have the capital, don't I? If I want to have a woman on my left and right, and if I want to get a lot of benefit from my wife's family, how can there be such an easy thing? A truly ambitious man will not put too much thought into the harem, so naturally, he will be relatively indifferent to women. In my case, it's purely a marriage of benefits, and for the sake of the future, such a man is the best choice. Moreover, this matter is obviously strange. We all know what kind of person third sister is. Although she doesn't like concubines and concubines, even if she wants to deal with those women, she will definitely do such a vicious thing. Just look at grandmother and the others. Who knows, in a few days, it will be completely different. Thus, Yin-Yang, you can rest assured that my marriage will not go wrong. Who knows, I might be able to choose the best one. When Jin-Yang heard this, it seemed that this was the truth. Her heart gradually calmed down. However, when she looked at her eldest daughter again, she had a new level of respect for her. Was she really that dull and timid child? Luo Jingyu looked at her Yin-Yang and smiled. She lowered her head and continued to embroider. Third sister-in-law not only sent people to teach me, but also brought me here from time to time. If I don't make any progress, wouldn't I be letting down third sister's good intentions? What does this have to do with your third sister? Luo Jingyu raised her head again and looked at her Yin-Yang with a strange expression. If third sister didn't ask third sister-in-law, do you think third sister-in-law would pay attention to me? Ji Yin-Yang's face was somewhat flustered. She really was muddle-headed. However, she wasn't anxious at all. She was too lazy to care about this daughter. Serving foreign was the most important thing. Other than Jingwan, who was at the center of the vortex, the other person who received the most attention was probably Li Honyuan. Although Jin Qinhuang had spoiled those women in the past and completely did not touch them, but he had always spent money to support them. Now, all of them were dealt with by Jin Qinhuang Fei. To a certain extent, it was undoubtedly 2 slaps on the face. It was simply trampling his dignity on the ground. His face was completely lost, and no man could tolerate it. Thus, he was caught by his brothers and laughed at. https://11/11807/6654091. Chapter 376. Li Honyuan didn't say to accept, nor did he say to refuse. Prince Kong just minded his own business and let people send the beauties out. When Li Honyuan saw them, his lips curled into a smile. Triplets were indeed triplets. Their identical faces were not a lie, and they were indeed quite beautiful. The only slight difference was probably due to their gender. 2 females and 1 male. He was lustful, and liked both men and women. This was a reputation he had created himself. However, he had never blatantly sent any male prostitutes to him. Due to his special use, he had once raised 2 or 3 in the courtyard. Prince Kong clapped his hands and smiled. I just knew that 6th brother would like it. Someone come. Send the person to Jin Qinhuang Fu. Be sure to hand the person over to Jin Qinhuang Fei and let her take good care of the person. However, no matter what, it was sent by Ben Wang. There's no need to remind. I believe that 6 daimyi will settle the person down properly. Eldest imperial brother. Li Honyuan opened his mouth to speak. Prince Kong waved his hand. 6th brother doesn't need to be polite. We are all brothers of the same family. If you need anything in the future, you only need to tell this older brother. Today, Li Honyuan held a string of beads in his hand, fiddling with each bead. He didn't speak, but that expression of a smile that wasn't a smile made people's scalp numb. There was a saying, some people want to court death, and you can't stop them. Today, 9th Wang Ye was the host and invited his brothers to sit down. Prince Kong only prepared a big gift for Jin Qinhuang. At this time, the others didn't get any benefits, but they didn't mind at all. Each and every one of them had a smile on their faces and were respectful to each other. The scene looked exceptionally harmonious. After the beauties were sent away, Prince Kang's personal attendants led 2 guards of the Wang Fu to the gates of Jin Qin Wang Fu. With a smile on their faces, they politely stated the purpose of their visit. The guards of Jin Qin Wang Fu were expressionless, but the expression in their eyes was a bit strange. They were actually Li Hongyuan's personal guards. The reason why they were watching the gate was because after Jingwan was injured, she was given an additional punishment of 50 whips. They were very clear about their master's thoughts towards Wang Fei. The reason why Wang Fei did so much was because she was forced by Wang Ye. Now that they had sent beauties, and even sent them into Wang Fei's hands, they only wanted a hee-hee in their hearts, gloating over their misfortune as they waited to see how these people would end up. He didn't show any of his thoughts on his face. How can such a lowly person walk through the gate of the prince's mansion? Send him to the Jiaoman. Prince Kang's personal attendant's face was a bit green, but in the end, he was still able to hold it in. Our family wants to serve our Wang Ye. This means we would have to trouble Tong Bing Wang, feign Yang to ask her to bring the person in. Is that possible? As for handing it over to Jin Qin Wang Fei, could it be that they really had to enter through the corner gate? This wasn't just about his own face, it was also related to his Wang Ye's face. Therefore, it would be easier to explain after returning. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but that he couldn't. Then you wait. Immediately after entering the gate, he called for a small steward to pass on the message back to the inner courtyard. It could be considered to be reporting layer by layer, so this speed really couldn't be fast. In addition, there were people who deliberately neglected them. By the time the message reached Jingwan, it had already been a while. Jingwan gave an O with interest, her fingers lightly tapping the table. It was said that one is marked by the company one keeps. She was really influenced by Li Hanyuan. Qingzhu, have people prepare a ceremonial stand. I want to go to Prince Kongqing's Fu. Guards and the like, bring more. Although the people around Jingwan had different temperaments, none of them were stupid. What Jingwan wanted to do, they quickly understood and completely didn't feel that there was anything wrong with their Wang Fei doing this. Originally, Wang Ye and Wang Fei were just living their own lives. It was none of other people's business. Each and every one of them had to jump around and make a ruckus. They couldn't even clean up their own moo of land and still had to stretch their hands into other people's backyard. This kind of person clearly needed to be taught a lesson. If they didn't show some severity, they wouldn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. As time passed, they still didn't see any movement in Jin Qin Wang Fu. Being ignored like this, Prince Kang's personal attendant's face became worse and worse. However, this was after all the front gate of the living king of Hell's Wang Fu. He naturally didn't dare to be rash. If he angered the living king of Hell, their Wang Ye would still be beaten black and blue. Although he still had some face in front of his Wang Ye, in front of Jin Qin Wang, he wasn't even worth a fart. But this task wasn't completed, he couldn't go back. He forced himself to smile. Can I ask? Ask what? Wang Fei has her own ideas on how to do things. What should be done is done. There's no need to ask more. The Imperial Guard didn't say anything else and directly blocked his way. A certain Gongong's heart was filled with resentment. What arrogance! Even if she was a Wang Fei, she still had to have her own man to back her up. Otherwise, she was just a figurehead. Now, with Jin Qin Wang's face, let's see how long your Wang Fei can last. Thinking about it, he still had to force a smile on his face. We are servants. We naturally don't have the guts to ask about our master's matters. It's just that this matter isn't short. Our Wang, the Imperial Guard sneered. No one asked you to wait here. Not serving your master well. Naturally, it's your fault. His face was green and white, very wonderful. Just as he was about to say something, there was finally movement in the Wang Fu, so he closed his mouth. But this movement didn't seem to be right. The ceremonial racks were properly set up. Two groups of Imperial Guards, there were close to 100 people, followed by a row of servant girls and mama serving. Like stars surrounding the moon, they clustered around Jin Qin Wang Fei, who was dressed more casually as she came out. Speaking of this, Jin Qin Wang Fei's attire really didn't match this kind of lineup. But Kong Qin Wang's personal attendant only felt inexplicable fear and trepidation, feeling that something bad was about to happen. As Jin Qin Wang Fei walked in, he hurriedly lowered his head, Jingwan walked in and stood in front of Kong Qin Wang's personal attendant. This servant greets Wang Fei Nyang Nyang. He hurriedly paid his respects. No matter how many twists and turns he had in his heart before, now he didn't dare to show it at all. You're sending beauties to our Wangya on behalf of your Wangya? Jingwan spoke softly, sounding warm and gentle, with a faint trace of laughter. Kong Qin Wang's personal attendant's legs and stomach trembled for no reason. He was clearly a completely different person from Jin Qin Wang. His words and actions could be said to be two extremes, but the feeling he gave people was so similar. Wang Fei Nyang Yang. It's these people behind you? One man and two women? Kong Qin Wang is very thoughtful and considerate towards our Wangya. Kong Qin Wang's personal attendant didn't dare to answer. The things that Kong Qin Wang had repeatedly warned, don't mention saying it out loud. He didn't even dare to say it out loud. Jingwan smiled. All right, let's go. Go where? He couldn't help stuttering. He was so scared that he forgot the proper etiquette. Go where? Naturally, it's to go to Prince Kang's mansion. Your prince has such good intentions. How can you just accept it for no reason? As the saying goes, there's a need to reciprocate politeness. Jingwan smiled and explained good-naturedly. Kong Qin Wang's personal attendant only had fear left, and he thought of a possibility. Jin Qin Wang Fei. How could Jin Qin Wang Fei do this? May I ask, Wang Fei Nyang Yang, which beauty has been prepared for our Wangya? The one that Wang Fei Nyang Yang has prepared must be a beauty capable of causing the downfall of a city, a first-class beauty. I'm not too clear on this. I think you should be more clear on this. After all, you've trained her. Wang Fei Nyang Yang, this is our Wangya's gift to Jin Qin Wang Yi, so I know this Wang Fei has already accepted it. Since I've accepted it, she naturally belongs to my Jin Qin Wang Fu. Then if this Wang Fei wants to send her out, to whom? This Wang Fei has the final say. I personally think that since she was trained by Kong Qin Wang Fu, she must be trained according to Kong Qin Wang Ye's preferences. Giving her to him, I believe that it is most appropriate. But this is for Jin Qin Wang. The weather in the middle of October could make people sweat, but they didn't dare to reach out to wipe it. Oh, this means that the person sent to our Wang Ye, can she surpass this Wang Fei? This Wang Fei can't touch her, can't handle her, and can't even speak of her? Wang Fei Nyang Yang is thinking too much. This servant absolutely doesn't mean that. Then why don't you tell this princess what do you mean? If you can't explain it clearly, this Wang Fei can't help but find your Wang Ye to discuss it. That's not right. Kong Qin Wang Yi is still eldest uncle. How can I, as a younger sister-in-law, find him? It's just that this Kong Qin Wang Fu doesn't have a Wang Fei, so I can only ask to see the Empress Nyang Yang. Kong Qin Wang's close attendant's legs went soft and directly knelt. Wang Fei Nyang Yang, please calm your anger. It's this servant who doesn't have a brain and spoke nonsense. Pa, she slapped herself a few times and didn't hesitate at all. You're the mistress of Jin Qin Wang Fu. It's just a few lowly servants. You naturally can handle them. Jingwan slightly nodded. It's good that you know. Jingwan reached out and put her hand on Gong Mama's arm to get on the carriage. Two head maidservants followed to serve, and the rest followed at the side. This lineup, compared to a complete Qin Wang's ceremonial procession, was not far off. The majestic procession, the destination, was Kong Qin Wang Fu. Kong Qin Wang's close attendant stood up while trembling, wanting to immediately report to Kong Qin Wang. However, several guards of Jin Qin Wang Fu directly drew their swords and looked like they were about to make a move. Please go ahead. Like this, it was not only the three beauties who were frightened, even the two guards of Kong Qin Wang were sweating. It was obvious that they were not prepared to let them go to the 9th Wang Ye's Fu to report to Kong Qin Wang. Kong Qin Wang Fu and Jin Qin Wang Fu were not on the same street, but they were not far apart. It was just that when the ceremonial procession of Jin Qin Wang Fu arrived at the entrance of Kong Qin Wang Fu, the guards were lined up, and the maidservants and biddies were clustered around. The entrance of the carriage was facing the entrance of Kong Qin Wang Fu. At a glance, one would know that it was not a good thing. The guards guarding the entrance acted as if they were facing a great enemy, their left hand clenching the scabbard and their right hand clenching the hilt. Jingwan got down from the carriage and walked straight to the entrance. The 4 guards who were about to stop her were unceremoniously taken down by the guards of Jin Wang Fu. Jingwan stepped through the entrance of Qin Wang Fu as if she was entering her own home. After entering, the ordinary servants did not dare to approach, and those who had the guts to approach with fear and trepidation were all directly knocked down. In the end, the deputy head of the guards of Qin Wang Fu hurriedly rushed over with people. Originally, under normal circumstances, when a Wang Fei of other Wang Fu came to visit, it had nothing to do with them. But now it was completely different. It was clear that they did not come with good intentions. The guards of Jin Wang Fu took the lead and stood in front of Jingwan to protect her. Jingwan waved her hand to let them withdraw and walked forward as if nothing had happened. They were clearly a group of tall and strong men, but when she moved forward, they could only retreat. It was as if they were not facing a defenseless and weak woman, but a scourge and a fierce beast. The other party was a Qin Wang Fei. Not to mention her noble status, the most important point was that she was the Wang Fei of the living king of hell. If there was even the slightest bit of injury, Jin Wang might bring people to flatten Qin Wang Fu. Their master might be fine, but they would definitely not have a good end. If Wang Fei Nyang has something to say, there is no harm in letting this humble one pass on the message. While retreating, they tried to speak calmly. It's none of your business. Get out of the way for Ben Wang Fei. Jingwan did not speak harshly, but her expression was calm without any ripples and had an indescribable dignity. Wang Fei Nyang, please forgive us. Guarding Qin Wang Fu is our duty. Please forgive us. If they could, they also wanted to hide far away. So you say that you must stop Ben Wang Fei? All right, let's see if you can stop me. Talking was one thing. When Jingwan stepped forward, they could only retreat. What are you doing? Still not retreating. A woman's voice came from behind the guards. Hearing this, they all breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly retreated to both sides. Greetings, Wang Fei Nyang. We didn't know Wang Fei Nyang had come, so we didn't go out to meet you. Wang Fei Nyang, please forgive us. This beauty was simple but dignified. She was one of Prince Kang's side concubines, the former Princess Kang's younger sister. When Prince Kang's wife was in mourning, she entered the family to take care of Princess Kang's children. When Prince Qin Wang Fu did not have a legal wife, she was the mistress. As for the other side concubine, she was from Prince Kang's sworn enemy. When she entered the Fu, she was sent to a remote and broken courtyard. However, she was still a beauty and had been abused by Prince Kong many times. Wang Fei Nyang, this concubine doesn't know if his concubine has a... Yao Rao's question was still calm, but it instantly turned into a scream because Gong Mama tore her clothes in front of everyone. Yao Rao did not have time to say anything else and resisted in panic. Speaking of which, although she was originally a loose woman, it was different now. She must maintain her chastity in order to have a foothold in Prince Kong Fu. But her struggle was like a little chick in Gong Mama's hands. Yao Rao was stripped naked and thrown into the curtains. Then, Gong Mama pulled out the man among the 3 beauties. Jingwan's intention was self-evident. Many concubines looked askance and panicked in their hearts. No matter what method was used to train a man, he was a man after all. Gong Mama pulled him into the curtains and began to tear his clothes. For her, this kind of thing naturally did not matter. Gong Mama soon came out and casually threw the torn clothes in her hands on the ground. In the curtains, there were screams one after another. However, the voice that was slightly masculine was louder than the other one. https://11/11/11807/6654095. Mobile Edition. Chapter 377. The onlookers outside, after the initial panic, gradually began to rejoice in other people's misfortune, especially those concubines of Prince Kong. No matter if they were in opposition to Yao Rao or fawning on her to survive. In fact, the more they flattered her, the happier they were in their heart at this moment. They all depended on the same man to survive. His favor determined their status. There were so many concubines in the harem but Yaorao monopolized more than half of his favor. As for the rest, some people couldn't even get a little bit in 2 or 3 months. How could they not be jealous? Sometimes, when it was easy to get some soup and water, they were intercepted halfway. How many things were thrown and how many handkerchiefs were torn? They believed that their beauty and talent were not inferior to Yaorao. How could she, after this incident, even if Prince Kong didn't kill her, they didn't believe that he could still favor her like before. It was like a woman who was born in prostitution. No matter how dissolute she was, once she turned over a new leaf, she couldn't have any relationship with a man other than her husband. Even if she was only seen but not touched, it was still an unforgivable sin. Yaorao was exactly like this. This was not only related to her innocence, but also related to Prince Kang's face. If Prince Kong could still take it lightly in the face of such a situation, probably everyone would praise him as good tolerance. Prince Kang's side concubine glanced at Jingwan thoughtfully, but she didn't ask. Anyway, she never thought highly of Li Hongyi and never cared about him. She never thought of having a child of her own, not only for the sake of her sister's child, but also because she didn't want to give birth to that man's child. Every time she talked about having a child, her family would say that she was sensible and considerate. In fact, it was a joke. They said that when the child grew up in the future, he would be filial to her and treat her as his biological mother. She would be the most honorable woman in the world. Although they didn't say it, the meaning was obvious. In fact, she wanted to say that they thought too much. Even if Li Hongyi ascended to that position, he wouldn't be able to hold it for long. In the end, his end would be countless times more miserable than not sitting directly. Moreover, there were some things that were said by their own people, but who knew how many times other people had said it. Thinking about it, it was meaningless. No one knew who could really reach that step. Maybe it was an unknown person, or maybe it was the most unexpected person. She had raised her sister's child with all her heart, and that was enough. It could be said that she had fulfilled their sisterhood. If there was a next life, they did not want to be sisters anymore. As for other things, whether the child she raised would be filial to her, it did not matter. She did not care at all. Among the people present, the one who had the biggest reaction was Prince Kang's valet, who was trembling like a sieve. Not only did he fail to complete the task assigned to him, but he also made such a scene. He could already imagine the scene where his master, in a rage, cut him into pieces. All that was left in his mind were these, over and over again. The gate of Prince Kang's Fu was blocked by the guards of Prince Kang's Fu, so even if they wanted to go out through the gate to report, they could forget about it. But other gates were not a problem. After all, when Jingwan did this, she didn't think that she would come and quietly leave and then wait for Prince Kong to go to Prince Jin Fu to find trouble. It was better to solve trouble in other people's homes. Therefore, Jingwan was calmly waiting for Prince Kong to come back. Jingwan's current reputation as a jealous woman was quite big. Even Prince Kang's Si Fei, who did not leave the house, had heard about it. Once, Gongqin Wangfei was considered one of the more powerful daughters-in-law of the imperial family. But compared to the current Prince Consort Jin, she was really a small child in the presence of a great sorcerer. They were not on the same level. After all, the things that Gongqin Wangfei did were far from being cleaned up in one go. She only flipped out in her own backyard, and to the outside, she still had to whitewash it. This one was happy and fearless even when everyone knew about it. Now that she did such a heinous thing in Prince Kang's Fu, she still had a smile on her face, without the slightest bit of a guilty conscience, as if what she did was nothing more than eating and drinking. On the other side, a guard of Prince Kang's Fu rushed to the 9th Wang Ye's Fu at the fastest speed. On this kind of day, he was drenched in sweat. When he was brought in, all the adult princes were present. Beauties accompanied them as they drank and chatted merrily. Of course, not everyone had a beauty by their side. When Prince Kong saw that the guards in his mansion were still panting and anxious, he felt that he had lost face for a moment. His face darkened in an instant. How can you be so flustered? What a scandal. The guard calmed his breathing. Wang Yi, that Jinqin Wangfei. He subconsciously glanced at Li Hongyuan. Everyone understood in their hearts. 8 or 9 out of 10, it was Jinqin Wangfei making trouble again. They all looked at Li Hongyuan with a smile. Although they did not show it on their faces, they were ridiculing him in their hearts. On the other hand, Li Honyuan was still the same, drinking happily and contentedly without the slightest fluctuation in his mood. Although he still did not know what his wife did, he was very clear in his heart that if this matter was exposed, the one who would be laughed at would not be him. From the looks of it, it should be quite serious. Li Honyuan only felt gratified. It was not in vain for him to sit here and wait for a good show. After all, if it was in the past, even if he went to a certain brother's appointment, it would be good if he could give face and drink 2 cups of wine. What are you hemming and hawing for? If you have something to say it directly. Everyone here is Ben Wang's brother. There is nothing to hide. Old 6, don't you agree? Li Honyuan played with the small jade cup in his hand, smiling yet not smiling indeed. Prince Kang's heart inexplicably jumped, as if he had a bad premonition. However, after thinking about it, at most, it would be that sick sister-in-law who was unhappy and threw a tantrum. What else could it be? Therefore, he insisted that the guard speak of the matter, without leaving anything out. The guard had no choice but to brace himself and lower his head. Like pouring beans, the speed of his speech was quite fast, and in fact, it was just a matter of a few sentences. When he finished speaking, the scene was so silent that a pin drop could be heard. Then, Prince Kong directly exploded, flinging away the beauty in his arms and kicking over the short table in front of him. He looked at Li Honyuan with a gloomy face. Looking at Li Hongyuan's expression, he even suspected that he knew from the beginning. However, no one knew that he was going to give her away, so this possibility should not exist. Moreover, when he thought of Li Hongyuan's ruthlessness and the pain of his back almost being trampled on, he naturally did not dare to flare up at him. Where is Jean Wang Fei now? Replying to Wang Ye, she is still in the Fu. Although Prince Kong did not dare to challenge Li Honyuan, he still dared to say a few words. 6th brother seems to be a man without discipline. That ridicule was not concealed at all. Why do you say that? The one who provoked Ben Wang's Wang Fei was eldest imperial brother, not Ben Wang. When eldest imperial brother was giving her away, Ben Wang wanted to remind you that Ben Wang was not interested in those beauties, so it was best that you did not send them to Jean Wang Fu. It was you who did not listen. Now it's just sending her back to you. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? Stripping his beloved concubine and throwing her together with a man? Was that called no big deal? Li Honyuan, this bastard, did not take him seriously. His face, when he wanted to step on it, he stepped on it. Now, a mere woman dared to do this to him. Prince Kang's face was ferocious as he flicked his sleeves and left. Li Honyuan also stood up. He knew what kind of temper Li Honyuan had. Li Honyuan was worried that he would not care about anything when he got mixed up. In this way, Wanwan might be passive. Of course, he did not think that Wanwan would suffer a loss. If he let his mistress suffer a loss, then the group of bodyguards would not need to mingle. However, knowing was one thing, his heart would still be worried. He must be present to watch and personally protect before he could feel at ease. And for the others, this was a good show. It would be a waste if they did not watch. If they watched, they could still find some entertainment. So they all got up and followed, still immaculately dressed on the surface. By the time this group of men arrived at the garden of Prince Kong Fu, Jingwan and Prince Kang's Su Fei were still chatting and laughing while drinking tea. Seeing the aggressive Prince Kong, Jingwan unhurriedly got up, and the others followed her to pay their respects. Prince Kong did not shout rise, but Jingwan consciously stood up straight. There was a faint smile at the corner of her mouth, but there was no warmth in her eyes. Prince Kang's return time is a bit later than expected. Fortunately, Prince Kong Fu is not completely unpleasant to the eyes. Otherwise, wouldn't it make people impatient to wait? When these words came out, many people sucked in a breath of cold air. Many people even secretly sighed in their hearts. Not one family would enter the same house. This degree of arrogance was comparable to Prince Jean. Prince Kang's face was distorted. He was obviously restraining his impulse to hit people. Today, we came to Prince Kong Fu to let Prince Kong know that unless our Wang Ye personally asks for the person, there is no need to take the initiative to give the person away. 6th sister-in-law's courage. When the time comes, people will be surprised. In the end, you are only Li Shi's daughter-in-law. The husband is the wife's leader, the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. Jingwan suddenly smiled and interrupted Prince Kong. In a flash, her face was cold. Prince Kong is sending a man to Didi's rear courtyard. What? Do you want to commit adultery in Didi's rear courtyard? Do you want to go find the Empress for comment? Or do you want to directly find Fu Huang for comment? This out was a bit too big. Prince Kong gritted his teeth and said, "A child molester can also be considered a man?" Jingwan clapped her hands and smiled. "If Prince Kong says so, then there is no problem. Mama, go. Send in a few more Prince Kang's concubines." The child molesters and concubines are a family, serving Prince Kong together. Presumably, in Prince Kang's eyes, it is absolutely a wonderful thing. https:///11/11807/66554097. Chapter 378. Luo Shi, you dare. Jingwan raised a hand to stop Gong Mama. Why wouldn't I dare? Besides, Prince Kong himself doesn't care, so why get angry? Prince Kang's eyes were about to split open. No man would not care about this kind of thing. Behind him, Prince Kang's brothers all wanted to cover their faces with their hands. They really didn't want to admit that this was their brother, and that the Empress shrewd woman had given birth to him. Although Fu Huang wasn't particularly wise, he should still be considered normal. How could his son be a cripple? Right now, they were completely being led by the nose, all right? In any case, the first thing to do now was to remove something that was more conspicuous, wasn't it? However, they were quite happy to watch this kind of joke. They could even go into the palace and tell their Mufei. Then, they could also watch the Empress make a fool of herself. Oh, then Prince Kong, why don't you tell me what you care about? Jingwan carelessly stroked her sleeves. Prince Kong was furious. Jingwan's attitude made him almost stomp his feet. He pointed at the curtain. What I care about? You still dare to ask Ben Wang what I care about, a man? A child molester isn't a man. Prince Kong, you said it yourself. It's said that a woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea, but men don't seem to be outdone. If Prince Kong doesn't care about this matter, then it naturally means that I, as your sister-in-law, didn't do anything wrong. Then, your anger is unreasonable. But if Prince Kong does mind, then I can't help but suspect that you have ulterior motives. You dare to do something that even you care about in your younger brother's backyard. What are your intentions? The more she spoke, the colder her expression became. Prince Kong was blocked until he couldn't speak. So after all was said and done, it was all his fault? If he said that he didn't mind, his backyard would probably be seen as a den of lust. If he did mind, then he intended to harm his younger brother. He couldn't get angry over the former, but if he got angry over the latter, others would only get angrier. Whatever they did was reasonable. In the end, this Jin Xin Wang Fei had trampled on his face and caused a ruckus in his Wang Fu. But he had to come and apologize and settle the matter peacefully. Thinking of this, Prince Kong, who was burning with anger, lost his mind and raised his hand to slap her. Jingwan was also on guard against him. She subconsciously took 2 steps back. Prince Kang's first slap did not succeed. He wanted to do it a second time, but someone grabbed his wrist. Prince Kong screamed in pain, thinking that his wrist was broken. Li Hongi, do you think I'm dead? You dare to attack this prince's princess in front of this prince? Li Hongi's voice was so cold that it could drop ice shards. Prince Kong wanted to break free from Li Hongyuan's grip, but his little bit of strength was not enough. Moreover, he was in so much pain that he could not exert any strength. It had already become a habit for them to pretend to be brothers. Now that they saw this scene, the other brothers naturally came forward to mediate. Li Hongyuan's cold gaze swept over them. Li Hongming and the others seemed to be frozen. That gaze was too obvious. It was clearly saying that if they dared to interfere, then they were asking for it. To be honest, these brothers, including the sickly 5th prince, had also eaten at Li Hongyuan's place. However, compared to the others, it was nothing. It was nothing at all, because the loss they suffered at Li Hongyuan's hands was too painful. They really could not summon up the courage to continue. In the end, Li Hongyuan was different from Jingwan. Jingwan took a roundabout route, while Li Hongyuan was simple and crude. However, his method could not be imitated by others, because what he could do, others could not do. Jingwan saw that it was about time. She took 2 steps forward and held Li Hongyuan's other hand in a place where others could not see. Li Hongyuan tilted his head and glanced at her. He did not say anything and let go of her hand. The hostility in his eyes did not dissipate much. Li Hongyi rubbed his wrist that seemed to be about to break. He looked at Li Hongyuan and could not hold back the hatred in his eyes. He said sarcastically, "Sixth brother has no scruples about men and women. They have been raised together since a long time ago. If he wanted to commit adultery, he would have done it long ago, right? Look at what Prince Kong is saying. Those things in the past were thrown away after 7 days at most. Can things that have been thrown away still be considered masters? No matter how messy they are, it can't be considered our Wangyes. Just like the beauties that our Wangyes sent out before, could they still be considered our Wangyes? Prince Kong received the most, right? Could it be that he still thought that they were our Wangyes women when he gave them the rights? Don't make me laugh to death, Jingwan said sarcastically. Prince Kang's face turned green and white. When men are talking, when is it a woman's turn to interrupt? Old Sixth is awe-inspiring in front of us brothers, but his own woman is riding on his head? Jingwan made no attempt to hide her TS. Prince Kong is right. As a woman in the inner courtyard, it's not good for her to argue with men. Of course, there are people around. A man using a woman's means. Thus, if he is cut by a woman, it's his own fault. He deserves it. Lady Luo, what do you mean? Jingwan looked at Prince Kong with a fake smile. What I said. As she said this, her eyes swept over Li Hongming and the others. Besides, I didn't mention names. Someone came up to answer. Is he admitting that he did something? The others listened. No matter what, Li Hongyuan did not spend much most of the time, but when his mouth was venomous, he could make you so angry that 1 Buddha left your body and 2 Buddhas ascended to heaven. Jin Xinwang Fei's ability to insult others was enough to make people vomit blood. She clearly meant to implicate them, but they did not dare to answer. Originally, for a man to argue with a woman, he was at a disadvantage. If he really did not let it go, he would lose all face. Thus, Prince Kong turned his head and started to bombard Li Hongyuan. I really couldn't tell that Old Sixth is someone who is caught by a woman, and a jealous, vicious, and merciless woman. Let's not talk about whether you lose face as a man or not. If Fu Wang finds out, this elder brother can see it. Finding a bunch of excuses to make trouble in Ben Wang Fu. In essence, it's just not tolerating people. Looking at it this way, her scheming is really impressive. I'd like to see if you're going to spend the rest of your life with her, Old Six. Li Hongyuan looked at Li Hongyi with a subtle gaze, as if he was looking at an idiot. He was too lazy to pay attention to him. Jealous? Prince Kong, are you talking about me? How can you say this? I still need Prince Kong to explain. A perfect smile hung on Jingwan's face again. Prince Kong, you must not invert right and wrong and put a big hat on me just to evade your own mistakes. When these words came out, who knew how many people's mouths twitched? Who was the one who inverted right and wrong? Could it be that the beauties in Old Six's courtyard were not handled by Daimei? It was me who handled them. Does it have anything to do with jealousy? I already said that it was just some things that our Wanya didn't want. I don't know where they were long forgotten. I forgot to instruct the subordinates, so I spent money to raise them. I became the mistress of Jin Qinwang Fu, cleaning up some useless and wasteful things. How could it be related to jealousy? It's true that Jin Qinwang Fu is rich, but that didn't come from the wind. The places that should be frugal still need to be frugal. Jingwan said as she looked at Li Hongyuan in confusion. Wang Ye, could it be that this Chia has done something wrong? Li Hongyuan put his hand to his lips. At this moment, he actually wanted to laugh a little, but he still cooperated with Jingwan and continued to act. Wang Fei is not wrong. So, Prince Kong said that I'm jealous. Where did this conclusion come from? As for this ruthlessness, I don't know when I became ruthless and merciless, directly beating people into meat paste. Some dirty water shouldn't be splashed. I've only ruined my reputation, but the person who splashed dirty water, I don't know what they've ruined. These words, in some people's ears, couldn't stop their hearts from jumping. This had a deeper meaning. Since Prince Kong wants to distort the facts, then I can only find Fu Huang to reason with. At that time, don't say that I, as a daimyo, didn't give face. There's one more thing that I need to let you know. Whether I'm jealous or not, it's up to our Wang yet to decide. He didn't say anything, but the people outside are chattering. It's unreasonable. Or do you all think that the living king of hell is someone that I can control? Everyone looked at Li Honyuan. What he said was indeed very reasonable. How could a woman easily deal with someone that even the emperor couldn't control? Li Honyuan was actually a little helpless at this moment. It was originally a very serious matter, but it seemed that his wife had almost resolved it, and she even used his name. Well, on this point, he was really wronged. He was clearly controlled by his wife, but he was very obedient. Forget it. There was no point in haggling over this. No one would believe it. Who told his reputation to be so deep-rooted, it was difficult for him to turn over a new leaf? It's quite boring. Let's go back. At this moment, Li Honyuan seemed to have lost all his anger, as if he wasn't the one who wanted to kill people just now. Jingwan nodded slightly, but before she left, she still looked at Li Hongyi. Does Prince Kong have anything to say? Prince Kong sneered. Bin Wang's actions are upright, but it seems that I pitted sixth brother and sent him a few beauties. It's just that I wasn't considered enough. Even in front of Fu Huang, Bin Wang will say the same thing. The others nodded slightly in their hearts, and some of the water in his brain was finally poured out. Jingwan expressed her understanding. Then I don't have to go in front of Fu Huang to comment on anything. Prince Kang's smile deepened, still carrying mockery and complacency, as if saying, "What can you do to me?" The others wanted to facepalm again. Please, look at the situation clearly. The curtains haven't been removed yet, and your beloved concubine is naked with a man inside. It's just that she won't go in front of Fu Huang, but this might not be a good thing. Since Jin Xinwang Fei could do such a thing in Prince Kang's Fu, then she might do something even more outrageous. Then it's better to go directly in front of Fu Huang and completely settle the matter. Sure enough, Jin Xinwang Fei had a smile on her lips, her eyes cold. No matter if Prince Kong wasn't considerate enough or did it on purpose, I'm sure it's the latter. Prince Kong doesn't treat a child molester as a man and doesn't care, but this Wang Fei cares very much and is also very angry. Prince Kong, just watch, this matter isn't over. Then, Jingwan looked at Li Honyuan, a smile overflowing from the bottom of her eyes. It came from the bottom of her heart, gentle and affectionate, and she even took the initiative to pull Li Hongyuan's hand. Are we leaving now? Li Honyuan nodded, ignoring the others, and pulled Jingwan away. And the people brought by Jingwan also crouched down and left with their masters. Prince Kong stood in the same place, his expression a little indescribable. The good show was over, so Li Hongming and the others also took their leave. Even if Li Hongyi wanted to eat them up, it didn't dispel their good mood. The unrelated people left, and then only their own people were left. Their faces were cut, and they were ridiculed to death. They had no road ahead, no door behind. They couldn't do anything to those people, but couldn't they deal with a group of lowly servants? Her entire person seemed to be shrouded in dark clouds, gloomy and sinister, looking exceptionally terrifying. Almost everyone's legs trembled. But Prince Kang's secondary consort was like an outsider. She crouched down and was about to take her leave. She only said that it had been a while, and she should go see the child. He knew that he wasn't in her heart, and also felt that she actually looked down on him, laughing at him like an outsider. Prince Kang's eyes were red from the provocation. Like a wild beast that had lost its mind, he grabbed the other person's neck. "Slut, you also dare to look at Ben Wang like that. You also dare." All the servants were frightened. Their legs went soft, and they knelt down on the ground, trembling. It should be known that they had always respected this secondary consort, not only because she took care of the little heir, but also because Prince Kong gave her face. Enchanting Rao was so favored, but she couldn't shake this secondary consort's position. Now that she was crazy and wanted to strangle the secondary consort to death, then they were naturally nothing. You clearly could have stopped it, but you let things develop to this extent, making Ben Wang be humiliated and laughed at by those good brothers. Ben Wang thinks that Ben Wang has taken good care of you, but you actually dare to treat Ben Wang like this? Since your heart isn't in Prince Kang's mansion, Ben Wang will fulfill your wish and send you to hell. Prince Kang's secondary consort's face was faintly green, and she only felt abnormally uncomfortable. However, although there was pain on her face, she didn't struggle, and her eyes could even be said to be calm. The more Prince Kang looked at her, the more he was an eyesore, and the strength of his hand was increasing. Lord Father, what are you doing? Quickly let go of Aunt. Prince Kang's 7 or 8 years old legitimate eldest son was like an angry cub, rushing straight up and punching and kicking his father. Let go of my aunt. Let go of my aunt. You bastard, bastard. I'm going to tell Imperial Grandfather and Imperial Grandmother. You bastard angered my mother to death, and now you want to strangle my aunt to death. Quickly let go of me. Let go. Prince Kang kicked his son away, and the hatred in his heart grew stronger. Even his own son saw him as an enemy. The little heir got up and pounced over, grabbing Prince Kang and fiercely biting him. He was so fierce that he was determined to bite off a piece of flesh from Prince Kang. Prince Kang was in so much pain that he let go and slapped his son. The little heir glared fiercely at him like a wolf cub, even though his face quickly swelled up and his ears hurt and buzzed. Prince Kang's secondary consort didn't care about herself, but she was still very concerned about her sister's child. Before she could catch her breath, she pounced over to check on the child's condition. Are you okay? Your Highness, is your legitimate eldest son, and he's not even 8 years old. How could you be so ruthless? You slut, you still have a nerve to say that. You taught this prince's son to dare to hit his own Lord Father. What are your intentions? Prince Kang's secondary consort glared fiercely at him, and her heart was also filled with hatred, but she didn't say anything. Aunt, my ears hurt, it hurts. Only then did tears fall down. The secondary consort's expression changed. Someone quickly call the estate doctor. Prince Kang's expression also changed, but he didn't say anything and let the secondary consort take his son away, but his face was still gloomy. Then, he looked at the motionless curtain, and he couldn't help but feel angry. He quickly stepped forward and pulled the curtain open, and the situation inside made his pupils shrink. He saw that the boy had been moved. The boy who was taught to be a child molester had his eyes wide open, and he was lying in a pool of blood. A large area from his chest to his neck seemed to have turned into minced meat, and the enchanting girl's eyes looked like she had lost her soul. She was still holding a hairpin, mechanically inserting it again and again. Anyone who saw this scene would feel that something was wrong. Rao is already dead. Don't insert it again. The enchanting girl acted like she didn't hear anything, inserting it again and again. Prince Kang grabbed her hand. That's enough, Rao. Look at me. Look at me. The enchanting girl's eyes gradually focused, and then she slowly realized her current situation. She was stunned for a moment, and then she retreated with a cry of alarm. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose. Looking at it, it was too much stimulation, and her entire person collapsed. Prince Kang reached out and hugged her. Rao, but don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. This prince is here. This prince is here. The enchanting girl sobered up a bit this time. Your Highness, I didn't do it on purpose. You have to believe me. You have to believe me. It's okay, it's just a lowly slave. If it's killed, then it's killed, don't mind it. Prince Kang comforted her while holding her up, preparing to send her back. The enchanting girl was still crying, and she kept trembling in Prince Kang's arms, looking exceptionally pitiful. It's just that, in a place where everyone couldn't see, the enchanting girl was like a malicious spirit demanding life. She probably never thought that she would fall so hard in this kind of situation. Jean Qian Wangfei. The tip of her tongue brushed against the gap between her teeth, and she tasted a trace of blood. https://11/11807/6654099. Biku Pavilion mobile reading website. that you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.